Do you find in your life, this is a quiz I give a lot of people, more people you know personally talking about God than you did, say, 10 years ago?
Yes.
Many atheists today repeat the familiar question, show me evidence for God's existence and I will believe. But what they usually mean by evidence is scientific proof, the kind you will find in a lab, something measurable, predictable, and repeatable. Yet the Catholic Church has always made one thing clear. That kind of proof isn't possible, not because God is hidden, but because He isn't one being among many. He is the very ground of all being, the reason anything exists at all. And that's where the misunderstanding begins. So when an atheist asks, how can I believe in God? Show him the story of Dave Smith. Here we go.
And I am that person. I mean, I was an atheist 10 years ago.
What happened?
I had my daughter.
Yeah.
That's, as I found God the day my wife delivered our first child, and which is a fairly common experience. I know other people who have had the same thing, were atheists until that moment. And
what changed in you?
So, it's a fairly normal story, but I met my wife and we got engaged, and then we got married. So then we, when she got pregnant, that was, she was over her due date. So then they scheduled to come in to induce pregnancy because they don't let you go too long these days. The anesthesiologist came in to give my wife an epidural. They asked me to leave the room. But so I go out and I'm in the hallway in the maternity ward at Lenox Hill Hospital. And it just hit me. It was like for the first time, I guess I had not really thought about this. I was just so excited to get my family started. But for the first time, it hit me that like something could go wrong and that I could leave here alone. Like something could go wrong, that I could lose the baby, I could lose my wife, and it's totally out of my control. And like, as this started hitting me, I started like really getting emotional. And it's like, I'm out there and I'm crying in the hallway of this maternity ward. And immediately I just started talking to God. And I just started, not just talking to God, but like negotiating with God. And I was just like, like, dear Lord, if you make sure that they're okay, I'm going to do, like, I'm going to be the best husband and the best father, and I will do this, and like all the different things in your life.
Had you ever prayed before?
No, never once in my life. And it all, like all the things that you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing that well. Like I was like, okay, I'll clean this up. I'll call my mom more often. I'll do this thing. I'll do. And so anyway, so I just started like praying to God, and not just praying, but like negotiating. So anyway, everything was fine with that. But my wife, this was the first of many times. There were a bunch of complications in the pregnancy. Everyone came out okay, thank God. But so I ended up talking to God a lot that day. And then just like in the moment when it was really all on the line and out of my control, I wasn't thinking maybe God exists. I knew for a 100% certainty, unlike nothing I've ever known in my life, that not only did I know that God existed, but I knew what He wanted from me. Like I knew what my negotiating power in this was, is that I could, you know what I'm saying? Like I could promise I'll be a good person. So not only did I know God existed, I knew that God wanted me to be a good person. And look, this is something that people who have found God know, and people who don't believe in God maybe will not accept. But there is something to when you open yourself up like that to God, like you find out that He's real. And it's not like He speaks to you or He hallucinates. I don't like see a fiery bush and the words of God started talking, but like He fills you. Like when you open yourself like that to it, you get filled by it. And there's no more debate in your mind over whether that's a real phenomenon or not. You're like, any more than like if I were to leave here and someone were to be like, do you believe in Tucker Carlson? And like, I'd be like, no, I know for certain. Like I know for a certainty that Tucker Carlson exists.
With him, yeah.
I was just with him. It's like that. And so it was, and it changed my life. And ever since I regularly pray to God. It's something I'm conscious of every single day.
No way.
Every day. And I don't even pray exactly. I don't ask for things ever. I ask for one thing ever from God, which is that my wife and my kids are healthy and safe. It's the only thing I ever pray for. I don't ask for anything. The only other thing that I do is I express gratitude. God, like I just say thank you for everything I have.
It's quite fascinating that Dave didn't come to believe because someone handed him a flawless syllogism or an irrefutable scientific proof. His faith was born out of a deeply personal encounter in a moment of utter loneliness and helplessness during his wife's pregnancy. When every human support failed, he realized that the only one he could truly reach out to was God himself. Now you might wonder, how could Dave instinctively reach out to God after being an atheist his entire life? The answer is simple: because we are created in the image of God, the very one who has breathed his own life into us. That divine life is within us, and most profoundly, it speaks through our conscience, where we carry the unmistakable imprint of our Creator. That's why St. John Henry Newman called conscience the aboriginal vicar of Christ, which means even the most hardened atheist, though they may reject God in thought, can never fully silence that inner voice. Deep down in their hearts, they know God exists. Now, having clarified that, in the next clip, Bishop Barron explains how a human being can transcend intellectually toward God and then take the leap of faith.
Paul Tillich, the great Protestant theologian, said faith is the most misunderstood word in the religious lexicon because it's construed just that way. Faith means some wild credulity, some crazy superstition, believing any old nonsense on the basis of nothing. That's not what faith is in our great people. That's not what faith is in Thomas Aquinas or Anselm or Augustine or any of the great figures. To put it simply, faith is never infra-rational. So superstition, gullibility, accepting any old nonsense, that's all infra-rational. I'm against that. The church is against that. It's superstitious nonsense. Faith, authentically construed, is always supra-rational. It's a surrender at the far side of reason. I think that the best analogy to it is in our coming to know a person, right? So I'm meeting both of you, at least virtually now for the first time. I watched videos of you. My mind was alive to see what you're like and listen to you talk, and I drew conclusions and so on. I hope someday I can meet you in person. I'll have an even more thorough knowledge of you. My mind will be fully engaged around that. But I mean, let's suppose we continued to get to know each other and we developed into real friends. Well, my mind has never gone to sleep in this process. My mind is still alive and awake and alert and studying. But at some point in that friendship, you would reveal something to me that I could never have learned through my own reason by reading about you or even talking to you or talking to others about you. You'd speak some truth about your life that I could never have guessed unless you had told me. And see, at that point, I have to make a decision whether I believe you or not. You could be making some crazy stuff up, I don't know, or you could be telling me the deepest truth of your heart. I have to decide at that point, do I believe you? Now, I haven't put reason to sleep at all. At no point in this process have I set reason aside. But at a key moment, if I really want to get to know you, I have to say, yeah, based on a lot of things and hunches and intuitions and experience and knowledge and what I've gathered about this person, I'm willing to say, yes, I believe that truth about you. That's an analogy, it seems to me, to religious faith, authentically construed, that we would hold, and we could talk about what this means. It doesn't mean voices coming out of clouds. That God speaks. If I accept things on the basis of no reason or no argument, it's just any old nonsense, that's credulity and superstition. But a surrender on the far side of reason to the self-revealing God, that's faith authentically construed, I think.
As Bishop Barron points out, there is no single knockout argument that proves God's existence. Faith isn't a mathematical equation that you can simply solve once and for all. It doesn't follow the cold precision of logic. It follows the warm rhythm of relationship. You don't prove a person's love. You come to know it through time, trust, and experience. In the same way, faith isn't about solving for X. It's about coming to know someone. And scripture gives us a powerful image of that journey. The disciples on the road to Emmaus. After the crucifixion, they were heartbroken, confused, and disillusioned. They had hoped Jesus was the Messiah, but now, walking away from Jerusalem, they were ready to give up. Yet as they walked, a stranger joined them, and though it was the risen Christ himself, they did not recognize him. He walked beside them quietly, listening first, then gently explaining scriptures, opening their minds to see how all of salvation history pointed to him. Their hearts began to burn within them, even though they couldn't yet name why. Only later, when they invited him to stay and he broke the bread, did their eyes open, and in that moment of intimacy and recognition, they finally knew. That's what Bishop Barron means when he says faith unfolds like a relationship. You don't start with certainty and end with encounter. It's the other way around. You walk with Christ, often without realizing it. You listen, wrestle, question, and slowly through grace, your heart begins to awaken. Which means faith is not a result of a single argument. It is the result of walking with the truth himself until your eyes are open to who he truly is. So finally, if atheists keep waiting for that one perfect argument or one piece of scientific proof, they will never find what they are seeking. Faith doesn't operate that way. It grows when a person becomes open to reason, open to personal experience, and open to witness of others whose lives reflect the light of God's grace. All these threads weave together to bring the person to that decisive moment where he has to take the leap of faith and say, I believe in God. That's why Bishop Barron says that faith is not irrational, but infra-rational, not beneath reason, but beyond it, because reason brings you to the door, grace opens it, and faith is the step you take to walk through it. I hope this video is helpful. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. God bless you.